the job. There is still stuff that is attached to it that aren't always sunshine and rainbows. I was grateful every single day I got to step on that stage. There's no regrets there.
Today's guest is Brittany Paige Snyder, a former Radio City Rockette who performed for 14 seasons before stepping into a completely new chapter as an entrepreneur. She's the founder of JoyStream, a mobile event experience she built from the ground up inside a custom Airstream. We are talking all about what it really looks like to reinvent yourself after your dream job, navigate identity shifts, and trust yourself enough to start over even when you have no roadmap. Before we jump in, if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you're following or subscribed. Most people who listen to podcasts, around 70%, aren't actually following the show, and it's easy to forget. But following the podcast makes sure these conversations are here for you when you need them most, especially if you're someone who's serious about your growth and the life you're building. Welcome to Kicking It Real, Brittany. Thanks for being here. You guys, Brittany. No, I was just going to say before we started this, story, actually, let's go back. Her last season as Rockette was my first season. And we also have a mutual friend, 2022. And we have a mutual friend who was like, look for my friend, Brittany. Cool. Okay. And I didn't know like anyone. I'm so overwhelmed. I remember, I don't know what day it was in rehearsal, and they call you BPS. And I was like, who is BPS? I had no idea. I was like, who is this person? And then you came up to me, I think one day at lunch, and I connected all the dots. But then I was like, I don't know what to call you now. That feels weird. People,
I know.
Don't know.
You said, when we were talking a bit ago, you were like, Brittany? What? I'm like, sounds weird when people call me Brittany, because it's a lot of times Brit with some family or whatever, B with some of my friends from school, but BPS is like, and I know I worked with someone, like, that's BPS. So for sure. Yeah.
We're very official and very serious here. So
that was Brittany, so official. Yeah. Brittany's here. Hello.
Wait till you listen to the rest of it. She's not serious, but in a good way. We're going to warm it up. I'm excited to hear what you say about this. What are you kicking it with lately?
I am kicking it with, well, there's so many things.
I know.
And this is something I'm kicking it with / really working on, is being where my feet are. I heard that phrase where, like, I'm, especially being in the dance world, and now even with what I'm doing now, you're always thinking about the next thing, always thinking about the next thing. So your mind is always going, like, even when you're in that job, you're like, okay, what's the next job? And just really trying to be present and being where my feet are in that moment. Because there's stuff I feel like even my memories of things are kind of blurred because of what's going on in my brain about what's next. And I really want to be able to take in life fully. You know what I mean? I just really want to be where I am. And our phones don't help too, right? Like, I'm really trying to be present of being in nature, being like literally where my feet are, grounding myself, and really appreciating the little things, the bird chirp, the bird song. Now I'm bird lady now. I'm identifying birds and trees, and it's just so great. And that's what's it for me. You go from the concrete jungle to this.
No, the different types of jungles. I mean, I sometimes will catch myself if I'm driving in the morning and if the sun's rising, and when you actually stop for a second and take it in, it's like, oh, whoa. And then you are suddenly not stressed, and just makes you appreciate people more too. But it is hard because of this hustle culture we're in, which I'm going to ask you about later. Don't you worry. Okay. What are you kicking to the curb?
Well, you just lobbed it up for me. That the boss babe, which if that is what gets you going, that's great. But I am just so a like full speed ahead person that I have to pull that back. And with the slowing down of nature, being in nature and watching the trees and the birds aren't in a hurry, And I mean, obviously, with being an entrepreneur, being a dancer, being a choreographer, being whatever, you have to be on it all. You have to be continuously moving forward. I get that. But there's so much more to life. And what will be, will be. And if you work hard and you're pushing forward, but you still have to take those moments, and just the sacrificing of everything else for the thing is just not, that's out for me. That's out.
Fighting to find that as well, because I am just convinced that we could go after our dreams and do things and live in that way without the sacrifice and without burning yourself out and missing your family events and missing out on the things that really matter in life, which, I mean, your transition now has been really good. for this, for both former Rockettes, lots of changes and things. And you literally first time picking up your power tools for your garage dance studio, mowing 5 acres. You had a lot of new first. What surprised you the most about all of your newness?
What surprised me the most? That you're capable of doing it, or that I was capable of doing it. I just surprised myself. And it was like a little kid learning something again, because I had no idea what I was doing. But the thing is about me is like, if I have an idea and I'm like, this is going to happen. And the things that I've created, I've seen them in my head. Like I saw it. It wasn't even supposed to be a dance studio that I built. The garage, it was a loss that ended up being a huge win, because the garage on the property that I bought is long. It's not like you could fit 2 cars in it. So it's a longer situation. And originally I was going to be parking something else in there that required a big space. And so it was 6 inches too short to fit it in this garage. And I was so upset. I had people out here trying to figure out how, and it's made out of cinder blocks. It's old. The property's old. The house and the garage were built in the 40s. And so to take all the header off and all that, it just wouldn't be worth it. And I was like, little baby Britt, little baby BBS. I mean, dream to have a space of my own, a studio space of my own. And I just could picture it. I was like, okay, mirrors will go here. My mom made the curtains for it. We found this fabric like on super clearance, super heavy velvet fabric. I watched a YouTube video about how this guy made a sprung floor with pool noodles. So I was like, okay, first I laid all these cinder blocks because I wanted it to be up a little bit. And so you take a step up to the floor. I put down the first layer and then I made a jig. So like when I put the pool noodle in, I would like cut them all exactly the same height. So then I had a bunch of pool noodles glued to these 4x8 OSB boards, turned it over and put another layer on top and drove. When I was driving out for a Rocks audition, I drove my dad's truck and I stopped by Philadelphia on the way home, driving the truck through the city. Okay. And then I stopped by Philadelphia to pick up a whole roll of Marley that stuck out the truck all the way driving back to Indy. I mean, you just do what you gotta do, right?
The way though, I'm like sitting here and pretending that, I do so many DIY house projects. I don't even pick up a hammer. I have the vision and then Garrett does it, but like,
yeah, that's nuts.
You had no prior experience with that. You just were like,
So I do have to say it's in my blood, because my dad basically built our entire house. My childhood home growing up, like it was like a small little box, kind of 2-room, and then he built onto the front and then raised the roof of the house. And he could work on all the cars. He did everything. He was like the jack of all trades. And so I'm like, okay, it's in my blood somewhere. So I do know that it's in there, And it's funny because, my mom would be over there with me. She's like, well, I remember your dad. He would do this when he would do this. Just stuff from her assisting.
The surface.
Yeah. I mean, and thank goodness for YouTube. And, all the YouTube videos that I found, there was no one that was like me doing it that I found really. I mean, and there are, but ones that I just happened to find. So it's like, man, I need to document this more. I need to be better about it, because I need to show that you can do this and you are capable. Like I was just like, I just wanted it. I wanted it. And I knew that if I had somebody come and build it, it would have been wanted to put my money elsewhere. So I'm like, no, I want to do this. I'm going to build it. And I also want to get complete control over it, because I have a certain level of quality control, because even if I messed it up, I can only blame myself.
But do you think that you can be like, okay, but it's okay. Like, I'm still proud of myself because you had never done that before. I feel like that too. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this could have been better, but I did my best.
Yeah, I'm way better about that. I'm working on that. I mean, we're our worst critics, but I'm way better about the stuff that I don't know anything about. Yeah. I'm not going to dog on myself. I did the siding on my shed. Now that I know more about things, that was like now 4 years ago, maybe I did that. And so I'm like, oh man, I probably would have brought this over a little bit. It's not pressing and I'm not mad about it, but it's like, dude, I was just flying by the seat of my pants. You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
and it's just learning for next time.
It's learning, and you're capable of so much more than what you can even imagine. And it's just really cool. When I tell you, I never thought in a million years that this is what my life would look like. And it is, it brings me so much joy every day. Walking the land, being on the property and doing these projects. And it's crazy. I'm like, what?
You're like, who is this? I was a dancer.
Oh, totally.
Okay,
totally.
Speaking of that, So obviously now we're in it and you love it, but
Mm-hmm.
I also just went through like a transition of that. When you were in your transition period of not performing anymore, did it happen quickly? Like, what was your experience with that identity shift? Or do you still feel like, oh no, I'm still a dancer?
This is what I tell people who say they aren't dancers. I'm like, anybody that's moving their body is a dancer, But to the level that we have done it, it's hard to not associate ourselves with that we are a dancer. I don't think that'll ever go away. I feel like that's just something that's always going to have to be a part of my life in whatever form, whatever way that looks. I don't know yet, but it is hard. It's your identity. And I think that that's something that I'm really wanting to work on too. When I was a Rockette, well, once a Rockette, always a Rockette, right? But when I was actively a Rockette, I remember I wouldn't even tell, like when people be like, what do you do? Like, I never wanted to be like, I'm like, I'm a dancer. But
No.
people always, is that how you were too?
No, and Garrett would be like, oh, she's humble. She's a Rockette. And I was like, well, that it just feels weird saying, like, I don't know what it is.
I know.
Yeah.
Why? Like, why? And it's funny because for so long to identify as a Rockette, I was always like that. I'd be like, well, I'm a professional dancer and da-da-da. And be like, well, what? Just, I think that's hard because I also came back to my hometown, which again, never say never, folks. That's like my motto now. Never say never.
Yeah.
Because I never thought in a million years ever that I would come back to my hometown. But again, it's something that has been such a blessing. So, I mean, and everything happens how it's supposed to. Everybody knows me. And my town isn't huge. So they know me as the Rockette. I mean, I was Rockette for 14 years, dancer before, doing other stuff before that too. So that's what they know me as, even in high school. The question, it kind of would get to me. At first, just like with the, oh, so why aren't you? Da, 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 da. Why is this annoying me? It shouldn't annoy me. They're just asking, but I think that was my own, they're curious. I had a different job. It's just, they don't know anyone else that's done this probably. Maybe that was me going through that, like, oh no, who am I now that I'm not on the line at that moment?
Yeah. I even had an episode where I was talking about it where no one has any ill intention asking about it. They're genuinely curious, but I think that it's hard to explain what it feels like you're giving up to someone. And I saw like Emma Watson on Jay's podcast and she must not be acting or something anymore. And she's like, yeah, people think I wasn't happy and people thought I was crazy for wanting something else. Even if you were happy, just wanting something else, it's a hard thing.
And just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you have to do that thing. I think about last night I was at my nephew's basketball game and he is, oh my gosh, he is just naturally gifted in basketball. Like he can see everything that's going on. And I mean, this is rec ball. This is, recreational ball. Like they have a pretty good sized ball league, like, at the school, whatever. But he's so good that he could play at a school. And I'm always like, Luke, are you going to play at your school today? And it's like, just because he has this gift, he's way happier playing rec with his friends. I have to take some notes from my 16-year-old nephew on that. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it. And not that I feel like I extended that for too long. I don't feel like I did. And I never wanted to feel that with rocks. I never wanted to feel like, well, this is just a paycheck or this is just to get insurance or this is just whatever. Like if my heart wasn't in it, the job is way too hard. That if I wasn't fully there and in it, that was wrong. I always felt joy in performing. I love dancing, but it was everything else that comes along with any job. Even when it is the most glamorous, there is still stuff that is attached to it. It's a job that aren't always sunshine and rainbows. And sometimes those things are the deciding factors on if you are going to return or continue to do something.
With anything in life, there's pros and cons to everything. And once the cons start to feel personally that they're outweighing the pros, and there's your answers. You are iconic. And we were talking before this, and I did not realize that you booked Rockettes when you were 27. And then everyone listened, she did it for 14 years because I get a lot of people being like, oh, I feel like I'm too old. And I'm always like, no, first of all, I think being older is a superpower personally.
Totally.
And because I've seen younger dancers book the job early and they're great and they're successful, but I think that they struggle with the practicality of the demands of a professional dance job. But can you just really briefly tell us like your experience, how you got there?
So back up really quick. After college, I danced on cruise ships for 3.5 years, which was amazing. Love that. I mean, if I didn't have other like dreams in the dance world, I would have totally stayed on cruise ships forever. It was the best. I loved it. It was so fun. Then moved to New York in 2008. And then from there, like just audition, like for anything, everything, mostly musical theater though. So then I was in musical theater circuit situation, working at regional theaters around the country. And I always had my eye on Rockettes, but working was so important to me. And I was thankfully continuing to work and I was booking work. So I was missing the audition. And I felt like that was more, I needed to take these jobs and build up my resume. And I don't know what direction it was going to go. And I actually did a show in 2008 with someone who had been a Rockette for a long time. And we weren't in rehearsals for very long, 2 days maybe or something. And she comes up to me, she's like, you need to audition for Rockettes. And I was like, I mean, I want to. It's just that thankfully I've been working, haven't been able to go to the audition. And she was like, no, I don't care. Like you need to turn down a job.
What you're doing.
And yes. And so the next year I did. I turned down a job. At the time, I mean, I was scraping. When I first moved to New York, I was sleeping on one of my best friends from college, her couch. Her and her husband were living in the city. She's a teacher. She's not a performer or anything. He's a chef. He left his finance job out in Cali. And he was like, I want to go to culinary school. And now he's like executive chef out in Sacramento at one of the best hotels there. He's going after his dreams. I was sleeping on the couch. But it was great because he was a chef. So he'd be like Sunday dinners, like family dinners, it was great. So anyway, sorry, I wasn't making this short, but it's not really my style anyway. I was scraping and I remember the Rockette call. At the time they were auditioning in Chicago, LA, Chicago, and New York. And I missed the New York call. I knew I could make the New York call, but LA was happening and then Chicago after. My family's in Indiana. So I was like, I could easily drive to Chicago. But I was like, no, if I am giving up potential work or if I'm giving up work for a potential job, I need to give myself every opportunity I can. So I was like, if Cali doesn't go well, then I'm going to go to the Chicago call. Things were maybe a little bit cheaper back then, but still to book the flight, to book the hotel, to book the rental car, Uber, that was a ton of money to me at the time. Like, I'm talking a ton. And I was talking to my brother. He was always so good with money. And he's like, how much are you putting into your Roth? At that time, I'm like, I don't have any money. Like $5.
You're like, I have nothing to save. I remember that. Where I'm like, what is the savings?
Yeah.
I'm trying to live.
But when the very great person financially, he was like, you got to spend money to make money. There's some people that don't like that phrase, but that phrase changed my life. I could have easily been like, oh, I can drive to Chicago and probably stay with a friend up there for a lot cheaper than I can to fly out to LA. But I was like, no, I have to give myself every single shot. At the time, the RSI was in existence, but you had to pay to go to RSI. I didn't even know about RSI. Okay. So I'm like, I had never done a jump kick in my life. No, maybe in the show, but not like a proper, like Rockette, like style. I go to this audition, which was always what I wore to every audition. I remember I wore the same collard green leotard and I had a side part. I'm a millennial. I had a side part pulled back in a low ponytail.
That was a choice. Back in the day. I think people can do that now, but back then,
no. I was the only person with a ponytail in the room. And my hair is long, as you can see.
She said,
and it was just
I'm a standout.
I just did what I was normally doing. And so it was so funny because I ran into one of my friends there who I didn't know was going to be at this audition. And after day one, we went to get coffee and I was laughing. She goes, I was watching you on your kicks and your pony was just like going like this. And I was like, well, what do I do day two? Should I put it up like everybody else? And she was like, no. She's like, I say you wear it exactly the same way. So I rocked the day.
But you know what? That showed that you were confident in yourself. They probably loved that.
We're just ignorant, like in the truest form. You know what I mean? It was a 2-day long audition that year. It's not 3 like it is now, but we measured after the first day, and it was in one of the smaller rooms, and they said it so loud, and they were like 5.5, and I was like, can we just keep it down a little bit? So funny because Alyssa Laverne. She was, I didn't know her at the time, but she was at that audition too. Now that we're friends, she remembers that happening because she was like, oh, you were in that green leotard with the ponytail. And they said 5.5. You were like 2 people in front of me. Long story long. So I felt, when you just feel like at peace with something.
Yeah.
I remember I was on the phone and I called my mom. She's like, so what do you think? Or you geared up for Chicago? And I was like, I feel so good about that audition that I don't want to go then to Chicago and then do something wrong or give them a different idea. I just felt so confident. I felt so confident that I did well. And that's the best feeling leaving an audition. I mean, that's all I want to do is do my best.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I did my best. And I think the naivety of the thing was on my side. I think there was nothing to lose. And it was just like this, like abandon, like reckless abandon. I'm just going to follow the instructions and do what they tell me. And I've booked the job.
Do you think in hindsight, knowing the technique now, do you think you were doing the technique correctly?
Who knows, honestly.
Wouldn't you be so curious to go back and watch that and be like, what did I look
video?
like?
Yeah.
I'm sure you were beautiful.
Oh, I know. That's probably a little baby deer. It was so foreign. Because with precision, probably just saw that I was at least understanding what was happening enough to like, we fix those things. Because I do truly believe, like now teaching more, it's like, man, there's some incredible dancers, but it just does not translate. Precision does not translate to everyone. So they probably saw, oh, it's in there. We can bring that out in her.
But also how you said you abandoned and you just went all in. And I think that there is, I mean, speaking from my experience too, now that it's more well known, the technique, people are teaching the technique of precision. Yeah. So there's access to it, but now it's easier to get in your head because it's easy to be aware of the details versus then you're like, oh, I don't really know. I'm just trying.
It is growing so much. And I love that for the dancers. But I think about like, I'm so glad.
It was later in it. Things started to become more available the year that I booked the job. So then I was lucky when I moved to New York. There were, even at Steps, they had precision classes. There was just stuff you could do.
Yeah. I mean, now it's just exploded. And I do wonder, I started on the road and stuff and just like how the culture has changed so much with just rocks in general. I wonder how I would have fared this day and age. And if I would have liked it, as I talked to some of the other women who kind of came up around the same time as I did, and it was just it'd be interesting.
I think it has evolved quite a bit since, which is cool that you've seen all of it. I do think it's so important for people to understand that you don't have to be ripe out of college to do that.
Yes, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely not. Yeah. Just had lived more life. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And also I'm really glad I started later because it's very easy once you're in the rocks world to stay in the rocks world. And especially because then we started doing 2 shows. So we did spring in 15, summer in 16. So we're doing 2 shows a year. That's when I kind of started backing off of auditioning for other stuff. I kind of veered away from that. And I'm so glad that I did so much before I did Rockettes because I don't know if I would have been auditioning for more stuff after that because it is such a great job. Job. It's hard to go from just like the well-oiled machine to then another. I would do musical theater stuff in between. Just rehearsals are different. People just it's just different, you know.
The cliche sisterhood of it, but like it's real. I mean, versus going to a bunch of different shows all the time, which is amazing to get to meet different people. But you know, it's easy to get comfortable and what you know, and for great reasons.
And then you feel too like going back to the hustle, especially if you knew you're going to go back, you could be like, okay. And I mean, to be in the audition world now, it's a whole nother ballgame now.
Daunting. That was for me. I was like, I don't have that grind in me anymore. That I can grind for other things, but I give props to everyone auditioning right now and not in a bad way, but just like it's hard and acknowledging that it's evolved and it's so much of Rockettes or any dance job.
I mean, I was getting up, going to as many auditions as I could in a day, ones that weren't even good for me just to get the experience. Yeah, I'm the same. Like I had zero desire to wake up and get my name on a list for
to maybe get seen.
Yeah, to maybe get seen.
I talk a lot about like transitioning and pivoting now as well. What in the business that you're doing now, which we're going to get into in a little bit, but what lessons did being a dancer at any of your jobs translate? Because I feel like there's so many transferable skills as a dancer to other things.
In any job you're doing, even if it's not creative, like with what I'm doing different events all the time. So every event is different. So I'm still able to use the creative side of things from the arts and dance and theater and all that. But the big thing with rocks, and that's what I tell my potential clients, I will notice the details. Like the details on the details on the details. I was at an event where at the venue was like, oh, can I help you at all? I want to do something to help you. And I'm like, okay, you know what? You could tape down the cord. You could tape down the extension cord. And it just wasn't taped down smooth, you know? And I'm like, everyone's going to step over this. This is a reflection on me. This is a reflection on my business. And it's like little things like that. That has totally transferred over the little bit of, you know, craziness the OCD, the perfectionistic side of me. I mean, that's always been there, but it's on crack when it comes to rocks. And then it just bleeds over. Everything.
How has it hurt you?
Being a perfectionist. No. Oh, yeah. Yes, Gabby, I am. I'm trying. Yes, this is something that I am really trying to work on because I will get crazy about it. I just have to let it go. The attention to detail is going to be there for like saying an event or whatever. But in general, I'm like, if it's done, that's better than perfect. Because especially for things that I'm doing, like new, I don't know why. I just expect perfection the first time I build a dance floor. Like, what? Like that is
literally
not healthy. That is not.
That actually is that one's crazy. Specifically, that example. Let me just build something. I literally have never done that in my whole life. But it's a hard, I feel like
it's really hard.
It's hard, but that's just why we're the way that we are. And I feel like that's why, and that's been a hard thing for me in my transition of being able to be like, okay, this is new and it's done and you did enough today. I did see something related to this about probably on TikTok or something, but it was about content of posting it at 70% because that's what so many people are held back from that specifically, but anything waiting for it to be perfect because it's a fine line of quality over quantity, but also for dancers specifically, you should never feel 100% about something in that because everything can always be better.
And especially like touching on the content, that's something I struggle with so much. And the perfectionistic side of me, that really rears its ugly head with that because especially with like my business, I had this certain, it's geared towards a certain client and I want that to reflect on my socials. And so I feel like if it's not perfectly curated sometimes, what's that going to look like to the client? But I think we're in this, and I'm reminding myself of this too, like we're in an age where people want to relate to the person behind it. And even if it's a little bit of an elevated situation, people still, they want to hire someone because of if it's not perfectly synced with the music and the picture and the whatever. It's like, are they really going to be like, no, they don't have a good product. The socials thing, it's debilitating sometimes, I do have to say. And that's been tough for me just because it's like, well, if it's not absolutely exactly what I pictured in my head, then I can't post it. And that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Yeah.
There's so much like unpacking of the external validation as that we've been like ingrained to have too, that then for me, if something doesn't perform well, I'm like, oh, it must be bad. When it's like, there's so many factors that could go into whatever you're doing.
There is no rhyme or reason. Like I posted for the 100-year celebration. I happened to I had to turn around. This took me 2 seconds. I mean, I wanted to capture everybody standing up, like all the Rockettes stood up at the beginning of the show. And I just took a picture, a slow-mo video. No, I made it slow-mo, but it was like a video and of the theater, okay? All I did, I spent the least amount of time. I kid you not. The thing got picked up by the New Yorker on the New Yorker's TikTok. Like it took me 2 seconds. Things that I took so long on.
It's the same with me. And I'm like, but why? Like, why? Maybe because we're trying to perform too. I don't know.
Maybe it is because everything as a performer, like some people just like they haven't never performed before. Maybe they just have a little just more, I don't know, just whatever. I'm just going to say this. And I do think we are really moving towards the less curation. And I have to remind myself of that. I'm thinking of like series I can do with JoyStream with introducing me more and making it more personal instead of showcasing the space.
People want to see the person, I think, behind the brand too. And they want to see the behind the scenes because also I feel like that just builds the trust of, I know who you are and I know that you're going to do a good job. I'm really big on mindset as well. Do you think that there's anything mindset wise from Rockettes that transitioned nicely into now your business era?
Mindset is everything. Visualization has been such a common thread through everything that I've done. I'd be in any audition and depending on how much time I have before my group's going to go, I would at least take one of the times and close my eyes and watch myself do the combination. It changed so much for me once I started doing that in all my auditions, musical theater, rocks, whatever. That was so big for me. And I touched on this before with the studio where when I had this vision of what I wanted the studio to look like, it's so crazy. I'll walk in there and I'm like, this is what was in my head. because I know it kind of sounds woo-woo to people, but you have to see that it's happening in your head before it's there. Because like your body doesn't know, or like your brain doesn't know, like you're tricking it.
Yeah.
It doesn't know like fact from fiction in a way.
No, that's so real. I mean, I've listened to actual scientist people talk about how that's literal science.
Yes.
It's not even as woo-woo as it was, I feel like 10 years ago, because now there's legit science of your brain doesn't know what's a made-up memory and what's real.
Yep. I think it has something to do with like quantum physics or something, which I definitely didn't get a degree in. Not one of my degrees.
We're going to stay in the woo-woo land for us.
Yes. And same with the Airstream. I remember so vividly last year I was doing an event and I had a little lull in people coming in to take, photos. I was just doing the photo booth that day. And I was just sitting there waiting for someone else to come in. And I was looking at this and I was like, this is insane. I saw this in my brain and now I can touch it. It's so neat. It's so neat to see that come to life. And that can happen in so many other ways. And I have to continue to tell myself that as well, that literally in your brain, see it and believe it. How else is it just gonna happen?
How much of it do you think came to you in a moment versus then you had to start to visualize the details?
Yeah.
Because maybe there was a vision that sparked the idea. Or was it like you saw and I see all the details immediately?
There were some things that I was very, very like, okay, that's the first time I thought of it. That was like, yep, that's it. Like waterfall on the counters, the tile. I could picture it in my head, but I didn't know exactly which one it was. I looked at, no joke, probably 200 different tiles for the front. And when I saw it and I knew it. And I was like, that's the one that's going to be on the front. For an indecisive person, feeling that is the best feeling ever. With the land, having that knowing, sorry, I could talk about that all day. It was so weird. And I have to remind myself of that when I'm stuck in that. What should I do? Just do it. Do it and try. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I mean, those are expensive mistakes sometimes. But yes, anyway, going back to the visualization of it all, huge in anything you're doing. Anybody that's listening to this and you do, taking the shot, going back to my nephew, taking the shot. There was a study I don't know who I can't quote who it was, but they did a study where people who visualized lifting weights and people who actually lifted weights, and they had increase in muscle mass by just visualizing doing the workout.
No.
Now tell me that your mind isn't powerful. If that a legit study.
That's insane. I believe you. It's a crazy concept too of what do they say? We use like 10% of our brain. We don't use all of our brain. It's like, that's probably half the untapped. We just don't understand it, but it's like there.
I know. It's so cool. When I hear stuff like that, I'm like, man. And it's so easy to let those to be infiltrated. There's so much boom, 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 boom coming at us constantly. And you have to protect that space, that headspace. And we're being fought from every angle. I'm so about like curating the feed. And it's like, this is my feed.
Yeah.
Why someone doesn't get to tell me what I get to look at.
It's the same as you don't know it's real versus not real. It's the same as the bad things. I've seen a lot of people post about a negative thought that they have or something. And it's like, no, but you can tell your brain that that's not true. Like, oh, no one likes me. You can say, no, brain, that's not real. Just as easily as you could visualize something amazing and be like, yeah, brain, that's real. Like, it's cool that it can go both ways. Yeah.
So again, another study that I can't quote, but we remember the negative things easier than the positive things. That's like legit. We do. But you can't have like a happy and a sad thought at the same time or something like that.
Yeah. You can't be grateful and anxious or something at the same time. Yeah.
Even for someone, like we both are pretty happy people and stuff, but it's still so hard.
Before we keep going into this, can you explain where the idea for JoyStream words came from? Let's just start there. And what it is for people.
Picture it. 20, COVID, everything is shut down, including the Radio City Christmas Spectacular starring the Radio City Rockettes. I was going to say, as everyone knows, but maybe they don't. The show has been going on, the Christmas show has been going on since 1933. And this was the first year that they did not have the show since its inception. So it was a big deal. And I knew I was close, like a couple years maybe thinking about, like I wasn't being like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to be done at COVID. And I knew I had some more time and some seasons in me, but I just was like, okay, I need it now that I have a little downtime. I want to think about like, what is it? Like, what do I want to do next? The two things that I really, really wanted to do, no matter what they were going to be, is that I wanted to work for myself and I wanted to be able to give back. So that was just always in the back of my head. I do not believe I could ever be a 9 to 5er. I mean, if I had to do it, for some sort of circumstance, I would, but it's not, I have
I
to
can't
say,
imagine going to that.
oh no, like I feel like my hips hurt more when I'm like at the computer doing like admin work for the business than I did when I was kicking every day. I see why the sitting is the new smoking. I just have not experienced that sitting so much at a computer. That's the thing that I do not like. That's my least favorite thing about the business side of things. But sitting. I'd always been obsessed with, always loved Airstreams. They are, and if you don't know what Airstream is, it's a one of the silver rounded, very Americana, iconic trailers. Started
Giving
in the
vintage,
50s.
really cool.
Yeah, vintage. And I've just always loved them. There's just something about them that just I always loved. And at the time, I was looking for one on Marketplace to turn into a tiny home. Okay. So I'm like, I'm such a nomad. I want to make one into a little tiny home, and then I can go anywhere and do whatever and just travel around, and then I'll figure out whatever. And in my search for one to do that with, I had come across one that had a serving window that they were using as like our service. And I was like, that's interesting. That's a really cool idea. But I wanted to take that idea and I wanted to make it even more. So I didn't want it to just be like, oh, here's the bar. I never wanted it to be just bar. Beverage service of any kind. So there's a serving window. I use the back by the back door. There's a banquette where that can be a lounge space. It's like beautiful velvet upholstery. There's a little banquette area, and that can be a photo booth. So it can like roll up to a wedding. It can roll up to a church. My first event ever was at a church. I wanted it to be able to be at a church, at a kid's birthday party, at a wedding, at a graduation, at whatever. And the reason I was looking at this going, this is such a good idea, because we didn't even know what events were going to look like. Would we be able to gather? What were we going to do? No matter what, I can take this wherever I need to go. I can roll it into, a cul-de-sac. I can take it to, someone's backyard, like whatever. And I think I felt like even if things did start to go back to quote unquote normal, there was still going to be a need for this. And to be able to it can make a party. Like you don't need a lot, but if you bring this apparatus, then it instantly brings something to the party.
Well, even on the business side, you can do all those things, but then it's all there and done, not done for you, but you don't have to be like, how do I get this thing? It's all just done for you too, which is so cool.
Yeah, it wasn't already like this. It wasn't that like this. So I was like, I just wanted to expand on that idea, just keep things different and creative. And so I started calling around places, calling other people that had some. I found a lady out in Jackson Hole, and she was telling me she had a longer one, and she was telling me all about it and blah, blah. Anyway, found this guy in Ohio who had I called it, a field of streams. And so he would go out and purchase all these Airstreams and just have them.
The Airstream dealer.
Yeah. Well, they're the sweetest people. Shout out PMS Trailers in, I always said it wrong. I always said Helena, but it's Helena, I think, Ohio. I think it's Helena. They're the best. They are farmers. The grandfather would work on Airstreams, and then it just snowballed from there. And so now they work on Airstreams. They work on Airstreams for Airstream. And so then they started doing these build outs. So they would take old Airstreams and gut them, reframe them up, make them all look brand new, but they were older. And then people would design them, and then they would make them to their designs. So I had gone there and I had picked out one older one out in their field of streams. Now we're going back, I'm going back and forth to now we're at the next season, I think. Yeah. And I'm kind of building this from afar or whatever. And that was another thing, because I was like, well, I could do this depending on how long I do Rockettes. I can just winterize when I start Rockettes and do it seasonally. So I was like, this is something that I could do. I can do both of these things. So anyway, because of Rocks and it taking a little bit more time, he ended up getting an agreement with Airstream where he could get an Airstream, a shell, that he was going to take one older one and do all the work, redo it, take a dent out, all the stuff, but he could get a shell, a new shell from Airstream. Because of that, I got to design the shell of the Airstream. I got to pick out where the windows went, where the door went, where they cut the serving window there. I was very specific about the little Vista windows at the top that I wanted, so they could stamp all that at Airstream. I was able to get a new one at the time. I was in 2021 and get a new one off the lot. So then I designed the interior. That's when I took the ideas of I want it to have the bar top, but I also want it to be a photo booth. I was really intentional about making the inside really, really just like chef's kiss, because I want you to like, the details. I've done quite a few weddings where it's just the photo booth. So like they don't want the beverage service, or the beverage service is in-house at the, so they just do the photo booth. So like, I don't want someone, if they're just doing the photo booth, to walk in and be like, oh, I'm in a bar. But no, like I have the wood is all custom wood countertops. It's like waterfall on the side. The sinks get covered, like covers for the sinks. And it just doesn't feel like you're in a bar. And like the ice well is hidden. Everything is hidden. I mean, you can see there's a wine fridge and a regular fridge, small fridge, but it kind of all
but there's a difference between like a bar versus inside of a van. It's not like I'm in the back of a kitchen.
Yeah. Where it's like all stainless steel and just like, whatever. Yeah. So it was really important to me for it to be very versatile. So, which is it's been harder to give my elevator pitch in like 11 seconds or whatever they say. I forget how long you're supposed to give it, because there's so much to it. You know, like sometimes if it's like, oh, I'm a mobile bar. Okay, that's a lot easier to explain. I'm a mobile bar, but it's like, it does take me a little bit more to explain. But I have found now, because I just finished my second year, it's been so awesome because it's a one-stop shop for people. And my most popular bookings are beverage service of any kind. That can be cocktails or whatever, coffee, whatever, along with the photo booth, because we're already there. So you get a discount on the photo booth. So someone can have a unique photo booth, have a really cool experience for your guests, and be able to have beverage service as well. So that's really been like my most popular offering. But then people that want a different photo booth at a venue where, you know, in-house, they're like, well, you have to use our booths. But what's something I am wanting to roll out this year is like a whole cold brew on tap situation. So if somebody wants a cold brew station, maybe alongside their photo booth, it's not alcoholic. So, and also alongside with the alcoholic side of it, or the non-alcoholic side of it, from the beginning, it was really important for me to have an offering that was fun for non-drinkers. Say you're at a wedding, a lot of my drinks, I try to make a non-alcoholic version as well. So they can have the fun garnish and they can have the fun thing. It's not just like, I'll take a ginger ale, you know? So that was really big for me, because I feel like that the non-alcoholic movement is really moving and progressing. And I think that that's so important, that if that's important to them, to have that available to them. That's definitely been a decision maker for some clients that I've talked to. They're like, well, I could only get Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite for my non-alc option. It's like, no, girl, I got you.
Not here.
Not here.
Are you okay? This is a 2-part question. You created all these drinks. I guess I'll just ask it in 2 questions. You got to create. That's so cool.
Yeah. So of course I'll look for inspiration. If I'm looking for, I don't know, Christmas fun, whatever, I'll take inspiration, but I always make it my own in whatever way. And take a day where I'm just like, okay, I'm getting everything out and we're just going to work on this. Or like if I am going to be going to an event, then I'll just grab a couple other things. If I had like downtime or something, I'm like, oh, I'll try this out. Or, you know, if I have some, my friend Steph, we've been best friends since 6th grade, and she does a lot of the events with me, and it's been so awesome. It's the best. It's
dream come true, really.
Oh, total dream come true. Yeah. So when she's at events with me, I'll be like, yo, like, can you try this for me? And so I have some other taste testers. So
that's so cool. Like, that's also what a great way to bring your creative artist side into something else in a way that you maybe weren't thinking of as much in the beginning. It sounds like you approached it more business minded, and then you're like, wait a minute. Look at me flexing my creative muscles. Another very specific question. I wish you were closer to me so I could book you. But how much are you customizing like the photo booth and the drinks? Is there certain packages, or do you like to really make it super custom for people?
I try to make it as custom as possible. After doing this for a couple of years, I'm seeing what really works with like the amount. I'm now scaling. At least I try to. A little bit less is more with the amount of offerings. So when I kind of know now the sweet spot, say people want to do a bar. Okay, hey, pick out a couple beers, wines, like just a couple of each, and then try to keep with like maybe 3 signature drinks or something. Because, you know, sometimes when I do public facing events where I'm selling to the public, it's like, oh, but then this one's good. This one's good. And I'm like, I'm going to edit the menu. And it's so long. It just takes a little bit longer for people to go through the menu. So I'm like, at least they have options. You know what I mean?
But sometimes it's better. Less is more. As a consumer, I'm like, just give me your best ones you want right now. So I feel like that's helpful.
As far as like the photo booth, you know, everything is custom on the screen, like what you want on yours. And I have a printer too, so it prints right away. So you have your strip, and then you can, which is really popular for graduations and birthdays and weddings, then you can add the book on where it puts your little strip inside, and then your guests write a little message to you. And so you have that memento, or you can do 4x6 prints that are a little bit bigger. Like I did, I was doing a fundraiser for one of our state senators, and he wanted to do like a little bit bigger little bit bigger card. The smaller strips are fun because they can go inside of a little magnet frame or into the book, which is really fun. I mean, all the brides and grooms, they want to do that. And the grad, that's big for grad parties. Yeah. So it's so fun. So yeah, all that would be custom.
How far do you travel?
So in my packages, I include 50 miles round trip, but then I'll travel. Like I went to Ohio last year for a grad party. Hey, but you just have to pay for the travel.
It's all obviously like not all there, but you don't have to like get a whole truck. You're just like, let me just drive it there.
Do you know Sarah? She's a Rockette, but it was funny because she got married in Washington State, and she was like, I was like, listen, I'm just gonna tell you right now that your travel fee would be way too much. I was like, thank you for thinking of me, and that's what stinks. It's like I have this huge network of people from Rocks who I'm sure people would love to hire me for things, but it's like nobody really is close enough. But yeah, I did. I did go out to Ohio last year. So
my brother's getting married. Fun. I should see what they need next year.
Yeah, where's he getting married?
In Chicago.
Yeah. Hey, that's not too far.
I feel like you though are very fearless on the outside. Do you think you realized how like not crazy, like scary it was to make this leap when you were doing it? Or do you think that because it was kind of drawn out through the season that it didn't feel as real? Because I think a lot of people struggle with starting. Like they have an idea, but the courage to act on it and start can be overwhelming or scary.
You know what I have to say? I mean, not that it wasn't scary, but I feel like when I look back now, I'm like, wow, that was kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Now that I kind of take a step back, because a lot was happening at once with a lot of big purchases and things. So around the same time, the property that I ended up buying, it came about. That's a whole nother story we get into, but that came about, and it was one of the easy, which is really crazy because I will overthink the smallest thing. But when it comes to big stuff and you have that piece about it, even though it's like big and scary and you don't know how you're going to do it, it's like when you figure out a way. With the property, I mean, if we have time, we can get into it. It was just such a knowing. And it was so weird because again, let's back up. I was looking at Airstreams to make into a tiny home to be a legit nomad. And then I ended up with 6 acres of property.
And the Airstream. You said, let me have it all. Well, let's get into it. Tell us the story.
Okay. So, I mean, it is kind of a cool story. The town that I wanted to run away from so fast, right? God laughs. My childhood home, there is where I grew up, like around cornfields. There's a couple houses down the street, but there's a cornfield to the side, like on every side, except for there's a creek on the east side of the house. And then there's another plot of land on the other side of that creek. And then there are cornfields. Okay. And we knew the family that had this property. We knew the lady that lived there. Her husband passed away, but she lived there until she was into her 80s. She was awesome. Her nickname was Judd. She was the best. She was like one with the land. Sometimes like when I'm over there, I'm like, I'm Judd. I'm turning into Judd. Because, she just is like, it's so funny. So she passed away. And then her nephew got the property. He had like gutted the house and he raised the roof, and he actually raised the roof to the garage as well, the one I was telling you about. And so he was working on it and he felt really connected to the land. And so that's why he ended up getting it. Well, my mom was sending him a Christmas card. They didn't really talk a lot. It was across the creek. Everybody just kind of kept to themselves. It was 2021 and I was gone, and I come back. This is the January 2nd, I remember, because I was gone for Jan 1 and I came back Jan 2nd. My mom told me a story. She's like, yo, the weirdest thing happened to me the other day. This red truck, which is crazy because my dad's passed away, but my dad drove a red truck. And she was like, this red truck drives down the driveway. It was just kind of like weird. So many times we'd see my dad drive down the driveway. And this guy comes to the door. And people, I'm telling you, like out here, people just don't come to the door. Like unless you're UPS, but you're just leaving it. Like people just don't knock on the door. This guy comes up and he's like, hey, he was like, this Christmas card was in the mail and this was to my brother and he passed away 2 years ago. And she was like, what? I'm sorry. I had no idea. She's like, I heard commotion over there. And he was like, yeah, I've been taking care of the land. I've been like chopping down trees that needed to come down and mowing it and stuff. She's like, I just figured his name was Neil. I just figured it was Neil. Well, it was like the same time my dad was sick. Like my mom felt so bad. She's like, I didn't even know he was dying. And I was like, Mom, Dad kind of had a lot going on,
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's like, tell me a story. And I was like, and she's like, yeah. So he was telling me they're going to be putting it on the market in the spring. And I was like, well, what'd you say? Okay. I have no desire. I had no desire. I just was like, well, what'd you say? And she was like, she's like, what am I going to do with it? And I'm like, well, we got to go over there and look at it. So we walk over there and we're just looking at it. And it was so weird. It was just, I can't even tell you if it was, I mean, I truly believe it's like such a God thing. And it was the craziest feeling. I mean, to just like all of a sudden to be wanting to purchase this land that
when you're literally in an apartment in the concrete jungle, to then be like, actually, no, this is what I want.
Yeah. And then back in not even in my hometown, but across the creek from my childhood home. Like, what? And one of the big draws though is I was like, well, there's this garage. I was like, the Airstream can house, that can be the home for the Airstream. I'm like, perfect.
You were still going to get both. Yes. You always knew you were getting both.
Yeah. So anyway, I told that story about the dance studio and how all that, and then that ended up being great, whatever. And then figured out something else for the Airstream, which was fine. But it just was so weird that these all this, we're going back to is it scary and how do you make decisions? It was it was just such a knowing with the land. And even with the Airstream, again, I just, if I have an idea and I want to do it, I do it. I just do it. And it was just I'm going to figure out what loans do I need to get? What do I need to do? I don't care. There's no what savings am I depleting for this? I just wasn't even thinking that there was it wasn't going to work out. I feel like that's such a canned answer, but it just truly was a knowing.
And I think too, I hate how I'm always being an answer, but it's so real of it's very similar to wanting to be a professional dancer. To a lot of the general population, that's a crazy thing. And you have to have that mentality of, no, I'm just going to make this happen. And I'm sure it carries into everything else.
Yes. You put it so well. You're so right. My whole life, luckily, my parents were always super supportive of me pursuing dance, but there were other people who were like, what are you doing? I mean, I did well in school. Why aren't you doing something else? Why, again, going back to that too, just because you're good at something, just because I did well in school doesn't mean I want to go on then and use it in a legit academic way. You know what I mean?
Of it, yeah.
Yeah, I've just lived such an unconventional life, and just haters gonna hate. As you get older, you realize that's only a reflection on their inability to maybe make that decision as well, or they're
projecting
that they can't. Yeah, exactly. So it's I was so used to taking those leaps of faith, buying the ticket to LA for Rocks, using all my money for that. I will always bet on myself, even if it's times are dark. I can land on my feet because I believe in myself and I believe in the gifts that I've been given from God, that I can do something. I can figure it out. So it's scary. It is scary. I mean, that's cool that it looks like I got it all figured out. Absolutely not.
There's always something on the underneath. I just feel like you nailed it on the head of taking the leaps, and it's that belief in yourself. And that's why I'm so passionate about it too, because I feel like for me, that's when things started to happen and change. Is I had to stop overthinking everything and just do and just make it happen.
Yep.
I don't know what it is about the overthinking. Yeah.
It's the overthink. I think, and personally, we've kind of maybe touched on a little bit of the ADHD situation. I know it's thrown around a lot now, so it's not like I'm fully diagnosed or anything. It's funny now that they say that when you're an entrepreneur, you're not only building this business, but you're learning the things that you learn about yourself. The amount of things I've learned about myself in these past, few years, it's crazy. And one of those things is maybe I do have a little bit of that. I was with my girlfriends and I said, guys, I feel like I see these reels and they're just really describing some things about me. And I'm like, I have a little bit of it. And they were like, yeah.
I had the exact same experience. Garrett one night, this was a couple of years ago, because he has been diagnosed. And I was complaining about something that I was struggling. And he was like, well, that's why I really think you should go and talk to someone and see. I was like, no, what do you mean? And then he starts explaining what it is. And I was like, wait, that does sound like me. But I always say I felt like growing up, it was where I grew up, that was stigmatized as you were stupid, you were dumb.
Totally. It's a superpower.
Yes, now it's totally fine, but I think that's why. And also because when I was dancing, I don't know if you had this too, where I was constantly bopping all around.
Yep.
I didn't have time to procrastinate. I had an hour to do my homework. Yep. So that's when I had to get done. When you're working for yourself, you're like, wait, no, I'm running the rehearsals. My rehearsals. I don't have someone telling me. There's not a call or a class that I have to go to at the time.
And that's why, I always say, when I have more on my plate, I am so much more productive. And I think that stems from, like my mom was still, she had a color coded calendar. It stressed my sister out to look at my calendar for when I was in high school because it's everything between cheerleading and show choir and dance and this. It was just like, you're so right. There was never a time, and also not having to,
Make
figure it
decisions.
out. Like there was that's the thing. It's like, I love the freedom of being my own boss and doing all that. But I also really love structure. I think that's why I like dance so much, because I just love a structured class. And that's even why I love taking Pure Barre too. Because remember whenever I would go take, I just like that there's structure and I know what's going to happen and there's no, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I even say it's similar to precision, where there's structure, versus modern contemporary, where I'm like, I'm having too much freedom. I don't want to make these choices. I'm like, tell me where my eyeball is supposed to go.
Yes, exactly. Tell me what to do. But and that kind of stemmed off of you saying, I'm overthinking. And I think that has to do with maybe having a little bit of ADHD, because you're overthinking it, but you're also then like paralyzed in the decision. If you're not stimulated enough, we need that like stimulation. But then once we get it, it's like, boom. Like, we are good. We're plowing through.
I know I can bet on myself because I know I can just get it done. Because when it's the same, where it's like your head, once you're in it, you just, I don't know.
And I mean, I'm a procrastinator. That is something I am really trying to work on. But again, that's the adrenaline. I mean, and I don't know if you remember, because we were in two different casts, but like, I'm a late, I would get to rehearse.
Were we?
Yeah, were we? We were in
I was in gold. I probably was on the other side of the stage as you, though. I was like, no. You know why I know that? Because I remember specifically that year, your Christmas performance in the dressing room. That's all I'm going to say. Because I was in 401.
Were you in Blue the next year?
No, I was in 401, remember? I don't know. Because also I was like a rookie. You knew me, but there were so many of us. It was fine.
I know. If you were on stage right.
I what? Sure what?
Were you on stage right?
No, I was on stage left my first season. But I was further. I was probably not interacting with you, though.
Everything runs together. All the seasons run together for me. Especially when I'm in the same spot for so many years. They all run together.
Yeah, she held it down.
I feel terrible.
Why?
Stage left. I feel terrible.
There were so many of us.
There were. Okay, that's in my defense.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
I was too far in to really ever interact with you on stage.
We were talking about getting there last minute. Like, that's why I can't be backstage too soon. It allows me to overthink things. Even for rehearsal, it was like kind of a joke, but there was a method to my madness. Like, I'd walk in 5 minutes before rehearsal. I mean, I also was able to walk from my apartment, so that really helped. Like, I would warm up and stuff in my apartment, and then
you're not worrying about like
trains and stuff. Yeah, like I could control my legs getting there. So it's like, but I need almost that, like like that. And so betting on ourselves, if we get that, like, forget it. It's all over. I mean, we're good. We'll make it. And unfortunately, that's not great for like our nervous systems.
We did decide before we started recording that is your part 2, is your holistic life. Because we could talk about that forever. You guys, if you went in our DMs, it's ADHD or my gut health or something random that comes
like,
up
hey,
in a moment.
You need to get this supplement. Are you taking any omegas? I need you to up your omegas.
Yeah, if you need help. I'm not even going to say that because legally, you're not a doctor, so I'm not going to.
I'm not a doctor. Anything. Don't take my advice. But I'll be like, it was funny. I messaged her and I was like, hey, I was thinking about your acne. And so what are you
please
why are you thinking about this? You did put it out there. So it's not like I'm unveiling some secret,
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we are also similar in that way. I'm a very open book. I'm like, I will tell you, like, it's a blessing and a curse all in once. But yeah, that's, we look at our ADHD took us.
Superpower. It's scary, but you do it. Also, what's scarier though is not trying.
Yeah.
That's how I really look at making decisions now. I'm like, am I going to, when I'm starting to get like ruminate for too long? Because there are some decisions actually that I'm in the process of making, that it's like, once I kind of open something up, you kind of open the floodgates up to things. And I'm like, I was thinking of like the worst things that could happen, which you kind of have to, I'm talking safety things. You think about the worst things that could happen, but then I'm like, it has to come down to, am I going to regret not trying this? Yeah, I probably will. So I think that's the barometer. Am I going to regret that? I don't want to live with regret. I would rather go for it, lose everything, and then have to start over again than live a boring, monotonous, just ain't me. It ain't me.
Yeah, you need adventure. It's not. Do you think Because, okay, hindsight, 2020, I've talked to other people about this, Rockettes or just specifically dance, that when you're in that, you had a little bit of cushion with COVID to be like, okay, like this is what I want to do next. Do you think skill set wise, again, you wouldn't change your past, but are there things you think you would have been doing differently just because you like physically can't dance forever in that way?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it. But again, going back to how my brain works, like I don't have to. I think that's kind of where I was. And I also was kind of relishing in
Being
not
present.
thank you. Finally, yes, not having to think about it. It's like it just the next. It's like, you know what? I just wanna enjoy this, even though I knew in the back of my head. I mean, it could happen in a second. It could happen during the show. We've seen it happen. It's like done. You're done. I would always, every single day, especially the 2 times we come up back out on the bus, I would just take it all in. I would just take it all in and be like, I am so grateful. This is my last show. I am so thankful that I got to do this. Like, thank you so much. And then during nativity, because I used to be a shepherd for many years. And so I would just stand there forever looking out. Just those 2 moments. That's one thing I know, like looking back, if 21 would have been my last year and it just was abruptly ended because of COVID, we had a shutdown because of COVID, I know that I would have left there being like, I was grateful every single day I got to step on that stage. There's no regrets there. So I don't know where I was going from where I got on that.
No, you were just present. And I was just saying, would you have started to like think about a skill set? It's hard to ask you that because you've figured it out. Like,
yeah, I always have so many ideas. I mean, going back to the whole holistic thing, if I would have known now, I feel like that journey really started to escalate after I got my land and just kind of, I don't know, just it all kind of started changing, thinking about how food is grown and all that stuff. Like maybe if I would have been more aware of certain things before I thought of JoyStream, I maybe would have gone I don't want to say I'd like fully go back to be a holistic doctor or something, but something along integrative medicine in some way. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but never say never.
Nothing. Yeah. I'm going to give some pictures.
Yeah, I'm going to share this at the end too, but like your TikTok videos, you guys all have to follow her on everything. And we did talk about it briefly already too, but just the slowing down, which I think obviously your location is super beneficial that you kind of are forced to. But if someone is in like hustle culture, they're maybe not living on a beautiful land property, what are ways that someone can try to integrate just the slowing down and being more present without having to let go of hustling? Because there are periods of life that you have to hustle, but
yeah.
I think it's important. I think you can probably integrate that. It doesn't have to be so black and white.
Yes, I completely agree. Yeah, you do. And we got it and we're always going to. I feel like that is kind of ingrained in us as just, you kind of have to be just to be in the arts, but you have to be intentional in taking that time. And something that this is something personally I'm working on because I am naturally a night owl. And again, going back to what is good for our bodies, wholly good for our bodies, is being one with our circadian rhythm. So seeing sunlight is so important to our whole, like everything. The morning sunlight activates your melatonin later in the evening. People don't think about that. The morning light affects your sleep. And so really working on, and again, I feel like this is something that gets thrown around a lot, regulating the nervous system, but it's so true. Trying to calm that and use like breath work can really help ground. And so what personally I'm working on is making sure to wake to see the sunrise, which is huge for me because I am so not a morning person.
She's a
it's
goals
just
girl.
not. Oh yeah. And you are too.
But I'm not like I am, but I am. I think I naturally a morning person, but I also, even when I was in gold, I had already kind of trained myself to be a morning person. You do have to literally retrain yourself. And I don't know if it naturally I don't think it's ever natural to me. I've made myself get up early so many times and I see the benefits from it that is what keeps me doing it because I'm like, I'll stay in bed. I'm comfy. I'm cozy. Yeah. I don't want to get up.
It's hard, but it is so, I've always said I love the morning air. Like I love to feel the morning air, but I just was never a morning person. I know how important this is to see the light. It's just a whole body thing. And I'm like, I want to feel good. And even just with food, eating more natural whole foods. And, we were talking about before we, got on here about like, I'm really trying to eat the food that instead of taking as many supplements and things like that and just making my body feel good. And if your body feels good and you're fueling it the right way, that's going to also help you just be able to just kind of chill a little bit. You're not like maybe running on like 14 cups of coffee and all the things. But for me personally, setting that intention of trying to see the sunrise, and then I was always pretty good about seeing the sunset just because I'm so in awe. And you mentioned that earlier, like, look at this, stop, like, look at this, stop and look at this. This is a beautiful painting that is just, we get
Crazy.
blessed with most days. That's really helped me. And I think that could be beneficial to someone just to like set that rhythm and then start to have it stack, especially when I'm in my considered kind of my off season for JoyStream, kind of just doing more admin and stuff. It's like, it still gives me that routine that we crave so much. And then I can start stacking those things on top of it. If you've read Atomic Habits, that's in there about habit stacking.
I need to read that. I need to just read in general. Maybe I can stack that into my mornings.
I don't think it's too long. I listen to it on Audible. So yeah, you should just like do Audible, like go for it when you go for a walk or whatever.
What right now is your dream for JoyStream?
I got asked this like the first TV interview I did right when I launched, and it was right at the end of the interview. And they're like, what do you think? And I was just like, all of a sudden I just said a fleet. And at the time I was like, yes, like a fleet, but that's changed. That's for sure changed in the last few years. I'm not saying I wouldn't be open to it, but I don't know if that goes along with how I want to curate my life, my personal life as well, just with my day to day, because I would rather have less business, if I have two Airstreams, and obviously I can be two places at once, and I've lost out on work because I'm already booked. So I do know I'm leaving money on the table, but I feel like I will be happier if there's just fewer moving parts. And that's kind of my goal. Now that I'm seeing what's working, I'm able to be pickier in what I do and the events that I do. Maybe only being available for a certain tier, where then quality over quantity. And that's why I already feel with JoyStream, because there's way cheaper people in town. I'll tell you that. But you're not getting JoyStream, and it's just a different, your client's not my client. And that is totally fine. That is another thing that extends from dance to here. If it's not your job, then you're supposed to get another job. If it's not my client, I'm supposed to have another client. And I've seen that play out so many times. Like, oh my gosh, like the Rockette I worked with in 2008. There was another theater that had basically verbally offered me the entire year for 2008, however many shows I wanted. Okay. I would have been working like the whole season. Well, when it came around and I was working at that theater that Christmas, and when it came around, I wasn't offered the contract for that February for that show that they were doing. And another girl in the cast did. She was offered it. I still have the card that my parents wrote me to like encourage me. I still have that card because I was devastated. And this was a theater that I had a really good relationship with. And it was the biggest blessing, because I went to New York that year. I auditioned for so many other theaters. I booked the job with the Rockette, who then propelled me into that. The following year, I worked at other theaters that were just the friendships that I've created, there. Just then I did other shows with them. And it's hard to see it in the moment, but it's just so true that if it wasn't for you, you're not going to have it. You were meant to be doing something else. And I just have to keep reminding myself of that, because I have been a little disappointed a couple times when, say, I haven't booked a client that I wanted to or whatever. And then guess what? Another event came up that was way better. I'll forever be trying to work on that. But if a young dancer is listening to this, know that if you're not booking something, or you didn't get a part or whatever, it's like it wasn't meant for you. And I know it's easy for me to say because I've already had a full career, but it's so true. And something better is on the other side of that. Something better is waiting for you that is meant for you.
It's so funny you say that too, because I also vividly remember I was on the other side more recently than you have been, but I also would be listening to people who have had a whole career, and I'm like, it's easy for you to say, it's easy for you, but it's just like, it really is. And also the more you can release though, and release your expectation, not saying to not work towards something, of course, but if you could just release it, you also are more likely to attract what you think you want, or it's something else. The more you can just take a breath, and it's also not that deep. Nothing is. It's not that deep, but it's hard.
It's not, but in that moment, it is. It's everything. It's so hard. Even through the whole Rocks, until the last season, I still felt certain ways about certain things, and And I'm like, this does not define me. Oh, it's so hard, especially no one, even if it's a spouse, even if it's a parent, even if it's whatever, no one except for another Rockette knows what that feeling is.
Because it's all you have time to think about.
No.
I do think it's helpful to, and again, not to like be negative about it, but just everyone has their things. Like everything in life has things that isn't meant to be shown to the world. You should keep your personal things to yourself to a degree, but also just there's always things. And I think that's one of my coolest, or one of the coolest moments for me is when I get to be that person and talk to people like you who can offer that perspective, because I think it would have taken a lot of pressure off of me in my auditioning days too, of like, wait, whoa, you guys are actually human. All these professional dancers are actually human beings, and they still get insecure and they still feel down sometimes, even when you're like, oh, what do you have to be insecure about? It's just, everyone has their things.
We're all human at the end of the day. We're all human.
Correct. If you could go back when you were in your performing days, your younger days, what advice would you give yourself now?
Oh gosh. Honestly, kind of what we just talked about. Just remember that what is for you is not going to pass you by if you're working hard and putting in the effort. Don't let someone else steal your joy. Don't let the person standing next to you, don't let your choreographer, your director, your dance captain, stage manager, no one. Don't let anyone else steal your joy. That is so sacred and so beautiful that to give that up to somebody else that maybe doesn't deserve it. It's not something my mom has told me my whole life. It's been embedded into me. So now it's JoyStream. But that, and yeah, probably the rejection side of it. Don't take it personally. Try not to take it personally, the rejection side of it. I mean, we're going to, but don't give it as much weight. I wish I wouldn't have given it as much weight as I did at the time.
And I think it's important to remember in those rejection moments that the person that's rejecting you, they're not rejecting all the hours of hard work you've put in or the person that you are outside of that, because they didn't get to see that, you know? I think it's hard when you're like, but I worked so hard for this, but it's like, no, they don't know. Like, they don't know. It's not about you. It's
and
hard.
Unfortunately, it's subjective. It's subjective. I would have maybe spent less time, thinking about the rejections.
I agree. Amen to that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where can people find you and book you?
So, well, at JoyStream Mobile for all things fun Airstream event space. And I am at Brittany, Brittany BPS on socials. I am private on Instagram, but on the TikToks, come see my land. I'm really gonna get on it. I'm gonna make myself a schedule and really get on it. But I want to do. I made a path out by my creek, and so I want to do some like half thoughts with my dog, and just show kind of behind the scenes, maybe some DIY stuff that we're doing. I'll probably go back and show some stuff I've already done. And business stuff, and then dance stuff too, because I do want to do a little bit more with that. I've done some dance classes alongside JoyStream as well, so a little bit of that. So you'll kind of see a little bit of mix of everything. So that's kind of where I just kind of do more fun stuff or whatever.
Yeah, just follow her, you guys. It's so good. I love your videos. I heard everyone and comment when I am. So thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and your inspiration. Follow, like, subscribe, comment on what you loved, and we'll have you back soon. But thanks for kicking it real with us.